This is Director Pete Cervinka, Department of Developmental Services, appointed by the Governor Newsom in December of 2024. Pete brings over 25 years of leadership experience across multiple state agencies to his role advocating for Californians with intellectual and developmental disabilities. As former chief of data analytics and strategy, he champions using comprehensive data to improve outcomes while ensuring cultural competency and family-centered care. His career spans role at Cal-EPA, Department of Finance, Health and Human Services Agency, always with a focus on community-based lifespan care approaches. So without further ado, I give you Director Pete Cervinka. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate again the opportunity to be here. Your introduction just reminded me that I'm just old and fat and bald, so thank you for that. Really appreciate the opportunity to come talk to everybody. I've known about the existence of this group for many, many years and never taken the time, unfortunately, to participate. And I'm really glad to be here now, particularly in the role that I have that you described, leading a wonderful team of people at the Department of Developmental Services. Mr. Medrano from Cal-HR and the comments that he made about that, asking folks to surface concerns. And really, I think opportunities for Cal-HR to hear directly from employees about the things that they're facing allows them to see what's happening where and provide targeted assistance to departments that may be struggling, but also to see statewide trends and do things like the expansion of the LEAP program to additional job classifications, because they can see that there's a demand for that when people talk to them and hear about them. In the scheme of seeing trends, there's a particular trend that I'm hoping to advance at my own department, which is increasing our employment of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in state service itself. As a department that's asking others in the community to employ the folks that we support through regional centers, it's become quite clear that we need to model the way for others. And it's also clear, based on some of the experiences that we've had, that we have a lot to learn. We have a lot of education of supervisors and managers. We have different supports and services that we need to provide. I was brought to my attention a couple months ago. We had one employee who was simply seeking note-taking software, and it took 14 months for IT to review and finally approve a tool for that. And none of us would do our jobs without a computer for 14 months starting a job. So there's lots of room for improvement. On the trend front, employment, not just at the department, but writ large, is increasingly obvious as an opportunity for California to do better. And so I'm really excited to be spinning up a larger team to take a look and revamp how California supports people in employment generally. To make the point, for about the last 20 years or so, we've on average had about 9,000 to 11,000 folks participating in competitive integrated employment, meaning a job with everybody else in the community with a competitive wage. But just in the last 8 years, we've seen our caseload more than double. So the fact that the number of people that are actually employed competitively has stayed flat means that we're serving per capita half as many people in employment as we used to. And we have to do better, particularly at a time when the nation's economy it has a roughly a 4.5% unemployment rate. I think we're at 5.5% in California. It's just an amazing opportunity. Um, but I want to go back to the comment that I made about hiring inside the department first. Obviously our focus is on the people that we serve first and foremost, not disability writ large, but specifically intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this includes people who identify as neurodiverse with autism and other diagnoses. We simply have a lot to learn about how to do employment correctly. There are places out there that we know we can learn from, but we're really interested in hearing from people about their experiences in employment and what they wish they had done differently. Um, and and I appreciated early in my tenure a connection with SDAC to have those conversations. And we are hiring two people specifically to lead this effort. One person with the lived experience and another person who is an expert on civil service rules. And we're going to be looking to them to really design a program for us that figures out what the appropriate services and supports are for employees from day one when they show up at a job, and how we support them through their career and their career progression. Too often, people stall out or are misunderstood or not appropriately supported to develop and advance their careers as well. And so we have some ambitious goals inside the department, but a lot to learn. And we hope that as we work to become a much better employer than we are today, that we have some lessons learned that are shared with Cal-HR through the AB 313 process as well that can improve civil service writ large. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk today, to talk about the value of what SDAC does, and just paint a hopeful, brighter future into the future for the employment of people in state service. So thank you, Mr. Dutta, and everyone for carving a few minutes and admittedly totally disrupting the agenda as well to slide some remarks in today. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. You didn't disrupt the agenda. The agenda existed to accommodate your presentation as well. I also want to thank you for sharing the wealth of knowledge that you just did. It was very informative. Do you have a couple of minutes to answer any question from the audience? Do we have any question for Director Pete Cervinka? My question to you is, I understand that you're trying to increase more engagement for a person with disabilities within your entity. What specific steps are you planning to take to achieve that goal?
Absolutely. So step number one is having somebody with the dedicated time and attention to do it. And so those are the two people with civil service experience and lived experience with a disability to do that, lead that work. We know from past experiences and current experiences with people that we have room to do to improve our reasonable accommodation process. Although very often things move quickly, the example I gave is completely unacceptable and shouldn't be, and we should have been learning from other departments. Note-taking software can't possibly be unique to our department, for example. So there should have been other approved examples in state service that we could have just jumped onto much more quickly. We also know that when people communicate differently, when they have needs that, I'm going to sound ableist for a second, but aren't in the typical for a state employee, there's often a need for supervisors and managers to adjust how they think, to adjust how they communicate, to adjust how they support. Sometimes the explanation needs to be shorter and clearer. Sometimes the explanation needs to be longer or repeated. So making sure that people are aware and educated. It sounds funny to say become educated that everybody has different needs, right? But yet we find ourselves in a place where I think being prepared as supervisors and managers to address and support those different needs is an opportunity. We've also been engaging with Cal-HR, excuse me, around the possibility of expanding the training modules available, both to non-supervisors and supervisors as well, about what it means to have an intellectual or developmental disability and the things that we might be prepared to do, right? And so simple everyday things like whether somebody wants a door open for them or not are also things, and how to approach those conversations in a respectful manner with people are learning opportunities. And then conversations with Cal-HR around civil service reforms, to the LEAP process, exams, degree requirements. What are the barriers that people are experiencing, even trying to get in? I will tell you that our department, as a matter of practice for the last couple years, every job vacancy we have, we send out a cert list mailing to the LEAP list. But our response rate is somewhere around 2 or 3 job applications for every 2 or 300 contact letters that we send out to the LEAP list. So there's something about LEAP and its structure, or how we're communicating that's just not generating interest or response. And of all the departments that I would think people might be connected to, ours should be one of them. So I think all of those things are there. And then talking, we have a lived experience advisory group inside the department, and some of them are actually themselves interested in permanent appointments with state service, and talking with them around what to expect when they go through the process, doing some mock interviews, for example. Some people, they remember the word exam and they remember high school or junior high, and not being good test takers, and it can be intimidating and a barrier. So talking people through what that means. I could go on, but and I don't intend to punish you for asking the question by being long-winded. But those are just some examples of the things that we're thinking about in order to be successful as an employer.
Thank you so much. Alex, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Pete. I appreciate your long-windedness. I tend to do the same thing myself if I'm allowed to. So I was wondering, generally speaking, do you know if your agency annually reviews its hiring practices to identify barriers to employment of individuals with disabilities, and in consultation with your agency's Disability Advisory Committee, otherwise known as DACs, take action to eliminate non-job related barriers to the integration of individuals with disabilities in the workforce?
We haven't, but that's one of the things I could have added to my long-windedness. We haven't, actually, for a variety of reasons I won't get into, for pain of being long-winded. I'll just say that in the last, since December, we've added 39 positions to our human resources team to cover a wide variety of functions, and address audit findings and things like that. So in a period of fiscal austerity, it's a pretty large commitment we've made to properly structure our organization to support exactly the kind of work that you just asked me about, that we have not been doing, but will and plan to going forward.
All right, thank you. And then a question from the audience. If you could answer, if you could elaborate on the team you're building to look at opportunities for California to do better in supporting people generally, goals for the team makeup, things like that.
Yeah, sure. So we often say the department doesn't do things in isolation. There are, as I mentioned, we have one job offer out, and we have a governor's office appointee pending in the governor's office to lead the work that we're doing. We have improved the management structure. We have now well, it will be fully staffed once it's hired up, workforce and succession planning unit within which this group will reside. Our HR chief is personally interested in reactivating and energizing our Disability Advisory Committee so that we actively hear directly from people. As I mentioned, we have, for purposes much broader than just the hiring inside and outside of the department, a lived experience advisory group who has some members interested in advising us on this topic as well. We've also been talking with Disability Rights California, some of the University Centers for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities that do a lot of work in the community on employment, like the Tarjan Center at UCLA. So we have a number of outside advisors, and I already identified SDAC as well as a source of good info for us. We feel like we're recreating the wheel, but we know there are others out there to be partners with us in the work who've been down this road already and been working on this topic for years and developed expertise that we don't need to rediscover for ourselves.
Well, SDAC would be happy to collaborate and offer you any assistance that we can to achieve your goals. So thank you so much. Do we have any other questions for Director Pete Cervinka? Alex, do you see any questions that I might have missed?
I think there was one above that that I read. However, the scrolling happened and I'm making my way back up the.
All right. If there aren't any more questions, and if we do happen to find any question, would it be all right if we forward it to you, Director Cervinka, and then you can respond at your convenience, and we'll rebroadcast that for you.
Happy to do it. And again, appreciate the opportunity to come and share a little bit about our nascent but hopeful effort here. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming in, and we appreciate the presentation. Have yourself a wonderful day. You're welcome to stay on if you like to.